Hey everybody, welcome into the Thinking Crypto podcast, your home for cryptocurrency news and interviews. I'm your host, Tony Edward. On your way in, please hit that subscribe button as well as the thumbs up button and leave a comment below. If you're listening on a podcast platform such as Spotify or Apple, please leave a 5-star rating and review. Folks, let's take a look at the Bitcoin chart because we know Bitcoin leads the market and we want to see what's next. So Bitcoin, of course, in a pullback, we had talked about this. The RSI and daily chart was in the overbought zone. And right now, the RSI has moved away from the overbought zone. So that's very good, very healthy. So right now, Bitcoin's chopping, consolidating. And I do believe the next move is coming very soon because the bulls need to defend that weekly chart where, I've been talking about how the bears were in control, but they're losing momentum based on the MACD. So you would like to see that flip green so the bulls are in full control there. So I think there's going to be a lot of battles very soon where bulls are going to go very aggressive and we're going to see further upside. And I do believe Bitcoin's next major target is around 132 to 135K, that range. At that point, I will be taking some profits, by the way, guys, just some off the table. That is a price point I've had on my cash out plan for a long time. So I want to stick to my plan. And I do believe we could potentially see a local top at that point for this quarter, but then a recovery after, a brief correction. And I think we hit additional highs later this quarter. And as I stated before, we could see this bull market spill into Q1 of 2026. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't say that with certainty or a guarantee, but it's a probability. So hope you understand that. And some other metrics that we're watching is, of course, Bitcoin dominance, which has been on the rise, obviously, because Bitcoin has been pumping and, it's taking a lot of the liquidity. And as always, though, it will top out and then roll over. And then we're going to see Bitcoin dominance drop and then altcoins are going to run. And one of the metrics I've been sharing with you all recently is the Bitcoin MVRV. So looking at if Bitcoin is overvalued or undervalued and are long-term traders or even short-term traders in profits or not. Because remember, it's whales and market makers that are operating this market for the most part. Now, I know some people are like, what does that mean for crypto? Well, that happens in every market. There's market makers in the stock market and much more, right? Even in the FX market. So get used to it. This is what it is, right? So we want to look at the data to make sure we're as educated as possible. So, just about like 3 weeks ago, Bitcoin was undervalued. Then it was at the neutral point, and now it's heading towards the overvalued standpoint. However, it's not at levels that we've seen the pullbacks in this bull market so far. So it still has some upside here. So that's why I'm thinking we're going to move very quickly soon, and then maybe a move to 132K, 135K. We'll see how high we go, and then a local top. And what we continue to see is that Bitcoin whales, based on on-chain data now, right? With wallets of 10 or more Bitcoin, they continue to accumulate, folks. And I've often stated that once this starts to go into a downtrend, that's when we know, okay, they are exiting the market. So this is one of the metrics that I will continue to share with you guys, in addition to other things like global liquidity and much more. Now, jumping back real quick to the Bitcoin chart, gold has been one of the other leading indicators. It is over $4,000. It is ripping, going crazy. But this should come as no surprise to you guys. What have I been saying over the past 2 years? We are in a macro bull market for all assets: crypto, stock market, precious metals, real estate. So all of these things are following global liquidity. So it's the everything bubble forming here, right? Clearly. And what we've seen is that when gold runs, the other assets cool down, which makes sense because there's rotation of liquidity from one asset class to the other. So expect gold at some point to cool down, right? As we've seen multiple times in this bull market, then a rotation to stocks and crypto. It's just the same cyclical pattern over and over. And once you understand that, once you have the foundational knowledge of global liquidity, and it's not the only thing we should look at, obviously, we need to look at the data at hand, not so much what happened in the past. Yes, you reference the past, but you can't keep staring backwards, right? Or you're going to trip and fall and not miss what's happening right in front of you. So this is why we have to focus on the data at hand, folks. And things are moving in the right direction here. Obviously, there's going to be a top to this market. Bull markets don't last forever. So we want to make sure that we are taking profits. Like I said, Bitcoin, as far as the next move, hits 132, 135K. I'm taking profits there for sure. And not all of it. I'm not cashing out everything, but start to ladder out, if you know what I mean. And of course, we continue to see BNB be a leading altcoin. It is up, folks, over the past 7 days, near 25%. It pulled back a bit today, but that number was higher. And we've seen this before with Solana, XRP, and even Ethereum. And now it's BNB's turn. So, these top layer one blockchains, especially that are in the top 10, top 15, you're going to see them each have their day in the sun, right? Every dog has its day. And that's a good sign that we're seeing BNB rip because, again, it's another sign of we are in a bull market. All right, let's jump into some news. We got some big news here. Fireblocks partners with Galaxy and Back to expand crypto custody for retail? No, institutions. So the infrastructure for the institutional investors, the wealthy individuals, the big money is being set up here. Massive on-ramps and the bells and whistles and the white glove service that many of them are used to in the TradFi world now being set up for crypto. So Fireblocks Trust Company, a New York State regulated custodian under the Fireblocks platform, has partnered with Galaxy, that's Galaxy Digital, Backed, which, they are owned by the Intercontinental Exchange, which just invested in Polymarket yesterday, Falcon X, and Castle Island to expand institutional grade crypto custody. Operating under the New York Department of Financial Services oversight, the company is rolling out a custody framework to meet soaring institutional demand. Hear that? Soaring institutional demand for regulated digital asset infrastructure spanning ETFs, digital asset treasuries, and token launches, according to a Wednesday announcement. Here is a quote: "Regulatory compliance and security are non-negotiable," said Matt Walsh, founding partner at Castle Island. Fireblocks Trust Company delivers on both fronts with their qualified custodian status and robust operational controls, Walsh said. So, folks, all of this is going to lead to more capital. The institutional investors need to make sure they have proper custody where no one is commingling. They have top tier security and they have insurance and assurance that everything's going to be fine. And, folks, they're going to put billions and eventually trillions into this market. If you see where everything is going, they're putting everything on the blockchain, right? Stocks, money market funds, and much more. So this is great news. And look at this. Coinbase enables staking for New York residents after regulatory approval. So, with the opening up of crypto in the United States under President Trump and the SEC and CFTC, being much more pro crypto now, we're seeing a lot of these things that were hindered and roadblocked for a long time getting opened up. A lot of people in New York often complain to me, why can't I access this exchange? Why can't I, get access to staking and much more? Well, for one, New York is very strict with the BIT license, and I think they should abolish the BIT license. And two, a lot of the big banks and the folks who are lobbying to fight against crypto, they're based in New York, right? So you had these walls that were set up, but they're starting to break down here. So Coinbase users and in New York, you can access Ether and Solana staking and other assets as well. So this is really, really awesome. Now, folks, this episode is brought to you by Propy. Propy is leading the charge with putting real estate on chain. We know that the future is the tokenization of assets, and real estate is the world's largest asset class. It will be on chain. And Propy, they allow you to sell real estate on chain. Their platform is blockchain based, and you can sell your property for crypto. So if you want to sell a house for Bitcoin or even buy a property for Ethereum or whatever, you can do that with Propy. Now, they've been around since 2017. They've facilitated over $4 billion in transactions. They're also licensed, and they've put deeds on chain, which is really cool. They've created NFTs for properties and much more. And, for the buying and selling of properties with crypto, they use Coinbase for the crypto escrow service. Now, I am a Propy token holder. I have been since 2018. I remember buying this token on Bittrex because I recognized that they were disrupting the largest asset class ever, which is real estate. So I've been bullish for a long time. I still am. And a billionaire investor, Tim Draper, he owns a piece of this. So he invested in them at a very early stage. So once again, I'm bullish on this. Check out Propy. Go to propy.com. Link will be in the description. Okay, folks, look at this news. DDC Enterprise lands $124 million in Sprint to build a 10,000 Bitcoin war chest. So the digital asset treasury strategy race and trend continues here. So, New York Stock Exchange listed DDC Enterprise has secured $124 million in equity financing to accelerate its Bitcoin accumulation strategy, the company said Tuesday. The round was led by PAG Pegasus Fund and Mulana Investment Management, with additional backing from OKG Financial Services. Founder and CEO Norma Shu also contributed $3 million personally. Shares were issued at $10 a piece, a 16% premium to DDC's October 7th closing price. The company said the funds will be used to expand its Bitcoin treasury, targeting 10,000 Bitcoin, worth over $1.2 billion in today's prices by the end of 2025. So a couple of takeaways here, guys. Clearly, this trend is heating up. Companies are buying. This is very good for our bags. If they're buying the tokens you hold, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, there's some XRP ones out there. There's SWI, I think, but the majority have been Solana, Ethereum, and Bitcoin. That's going to drive up the value of the price of the tokens you hold. It's going to create a bit of a supply shock. And if we were in a bear market and the market is topping out, why the hell would they be doing this at this point, right? And buying at this point, clearly they're anticipating higher prices. And remember, this is all about the arbitrage on the stock price. So it's not just, okay, well, we'll just buy it, but they want to have the premium on the stock price and much more. And again, if all this is moving with global liquidity, you need the stock market to be in the bull market as well for this to all work, right? So clearly, these folks anticipate higher prices. All right, look at this. Jack Dorsey's Square offers Bitcoin payments for merchants as crypto adoption accelerates. So this is pretty interesting. Square, the payments processor owned by Jack Dorsey's Block Inc., has launched a new feature enabling local businesses to accept Bitcoin at a point of sale and hold the digital asset in an integrated wallet, a move that could help advance Bitcoin's use as a medium of exchange. Announced on Wednesday, the new Square Bitcoin offering allows merchants to accept Bitcoin payments and automatically convert a portion of their sales into Bitcoin. Square is waiving processing fees through 2026, with a 1% transaction fee set to take effect on January 1st, 2027. Merchants can store their Bitcoin in a dedicated wallet accessible through Square's existing dashboard, where they can also buy, sell, or withdraw the asset. The service is available only to US sellers, including New York State, and is not open to international merchants. So, folks, this is great. I mean, these companies are innovating. They're opening up on and off ramps for crypto, the ability for you to spend it. Now, obviously, we need to figure out the tax component, and we're hoping the government in the United States can get that right. But there are going to be people who will spend some Satoshis and spend their XRP and Ethereum and much more. So let's see if they open up to other assets. But I think, as always, it starts with Bitcoin as the largest asset and the best known brand in crypto. So this is really great to see the innovation that's happening. Now, folks, this is interesting news. North Dakota to issue stablecoin with FinServ as digital dollar trend expands. This was not in my bingo card that North Dakota would launch a stablecoin, but Wyoming launched a stablecoin. So we could see states launch their own stablecoins and much more. So we got the Genius Act passed, so you can expect tons of innovation and launches and much more. And it's what we've been talking about. We're headed to the token economy, everything running on blockchain. So the state-owned Bank of North Dakota will issue a US dollar stablecoin with FinServ, targeting a debut in 2026. The token, dubbed Rough Rider Coin. That's kind of a bad name, right? That doesn't sound like a good stablecoin name that I wouldn't necessarily want to use, but it's aimed to facilitate bank-to-bank transfers and merchant payments. Stablecoin adoption is accelerating nationwide after the passage of the Federal Genius Act earlier this year. So let's see if they mention anything about which blockchain they're using. This is the part we want to pay attention to so we can take the bets on those respective blockchains. So the news follows FinServ's June entrance with its crypto issuance platform on Solana to the fastest growing stablecoin sector. So maybe this is going to be on Solana. It looks like they don't give full confirmation, but I would assume it's a Solana token, base token. So I hold Sol in my portfolio. Again, this is where you can take a bet, right? That this type of adoption is happening on those chains. And we've talked about network effects, Metcalfe's law, Reed's law, and all that, and the benefits that's going to bring to those respective blockchains and their respective tokens. Okay, final news item, folks. Polymarket founder Shane Copeland teases potential Poly token. So just yesterday, of course, the Intercontinental Exchange, the parent company of the New York Stock Exchange, they invested in Polymarket, which, we talked about was a huge capitulation. You can't beat them, join them, right? Huge news for Polymarket. It puts their valuation near $8 billion. And I think Shane Copeland now becomes the youngest founder to, become a billionaire, I believe it is. And it makes sense. They would look to launch a token because you now have clarity, right? Even though the Clarity Act has not passed, the point is the regulators are not attacking you like Gary Gensler was. So many companies are going to look to launch a token, and this is where you can participate. So you may not care for Polymarket, you may not use it, but if you see that, hey, the masses are using this type of platform, grab the token early and, can make you some nice upside here. But as always, do your own research, not financial advice. And, we heard recently that Coinbase, they now want to launch a token on their on Base, which is an Ethereum layer 2. They launched it without a token. So everybody's going to try to launch a token now. And with regulations and much more, with the SEC and CFTC all plugging into all these things, and companies are going to be reporting, and those who were overseas, or kind of like FTX and so forth, that the regulator couldn't see what was happening. There's a much more friendlier and working environment here, where I think these companies will work closely with the regulator, and they can monitor and make sure things are done right. So I think we're going to see a lot of brands and companies launch tokens, folks. It's the token economy, like I was talking about. I see sometimes the comments, there's some people who are like, Tony, are you going to launch your own token? I don't necessarily want to, but if there's some benefits that I bring to you guys. So for example, if I was to launch a token, I wouldn't keep or allocate to myself a whole bunch of tokens. I would keep it very open. It would have to be, I would have to purchase the token. So I think Coinbase, they're doing creator coins or something like that. That's something I'll look into. And once again, my goal is not to launch a token and then keep half the supply, or 80% and then dump on my users. You guys know me by now, right? And it's all in the blockchain, so you can verify that. What I would do is launch it, maybe put it in a DAO or something like that. And if I want tokens, I have to actually buy it, right? So it's fair, and I'm not trying to rug pull anybody. This is an example. I'm not saying I am launching a token, but that's how I would do it. I think that's how it should be. And, maybe it's like a DAO. So you have a lot of people who are monitoring this, and it's not very centralized. And, again, not trying to rug pull anybody, but very interesting. This is only going to drive up the value of Polymarket even higher, and it's incredible what's happening. Folks, that's the news. Let me know what you think. Leave your thoughts and comments below. Hit the thumbs up button. If you appreciated this content, please be sure to support the podcast by subscribing to my free email newsletter. It is 100% free. I put out a write-up every week packed with tons of value, so check it out. Also, check out my book on Amazon. It's available in paperback and digital, and my course at mycryptocourse.com. This is a comprehensive course that teaches you everything about crypto. Check it out, folks. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you all, and I'll talk to you all later.